innovations nonetheless. So this particular group, along with two NGOs, Srishti is one of them, Honeybee Network is the other one, have been doing what I call Shodh Yatras, that means walks of discovery. And they go for a 10 or 15-day walk into the villages in groups of 20 to 50 people, sometimes even more. Comes forward as a mode of transportation, has 245 different uses, including riding a bicycle on water, including making fruit juices out of the social media. You can go onto their websites, and effort has inspired, the students in this effort have inspired the formation and the acceptance by the government that this is a very legitimate activity, it is very valuable. A similar foundation in South Africa, and I believe that they have been invited by the German government to come and think about
3 days for me here in Delhi, and I'd like to share some of my experience of working. I am actually on the advisory board of a group of ashrams that were startups. Succeeded in creating a creature needs to depend on the other, and there's a kind of interrelation that cannot be wished away. Now, if we look at in the world as a system, that's the interdisciplinary approach to solving the problems is so very essential. Now, for that, we probably need to redefine some of the paradigms on which the modern economy runs, is that of profit. And the moment we talk about profit, we are talking only in terms of monetary profit. Now, profits can come in many ways. It can come in terms of social profit, it can come in terms of happiness. If I do something and that gives me happiness, that is my profit from the project. Now, when we look at the bottom line of a company, of an MNC or a business organization, we are essentially looking at the accounting system, some amount of social profit is put in, and we look at comparative and new balance sheet would appear. And that's something very important. Now, it is in order to redefine some of these basic assumptions on which the modern economy is running. We go up into the villages and we try and see how things are happening. Now, one of the essentials of life is indices on which the growth of the country is being measured. And a lot of other countries have followed suit. If a country can use happiness as one of the indexes or one of the indices, in the balance sheet of MNCs. Now, if that be the case, then the entire equation would change. Now, with the amount of resources that we have on this universe and the consumption patterns that we have, probably we cannot sustain this present way of living for too long. Now, a time has come for us to take a reload. Now, there is this small little ashram. All the people in the village, there are 53 families over there, and they essentially survive on daily labor. They work for the day and they have food on the table in the night. Now it's amazing that the people from this village actually donated their labor. They donated. And they worked without any remuneration to make a new building. And I told my students there, and the students were saying that this is the example of a perfect organization. This is something that we strive for in our classrooms, theoretically, but in a remote village, which is supposed to be a tribal village, they have demonstrated that a successful organization is working. I had a short film on this, which I was supposed to show yesterday. I didn't. But the thing is, this essentially goes back to a very simple, that a lot of landlords have more land than they can possibly use. So why don't you donate some of that land to the people who don't have land? This was called the Buddha movement. And I just illustrate a very, very small example that my father had told me, and I think it carries a lot of meaning for all of us in this room. And this was when they walked into a village which could have, why don't you start a bank? And everybody was incredulous. A bank? We start a bank, we don't even have enough to eat. So Vinoba smiled back and he said, don't. He said, maybe, is it one handful for every person? He said, yeah, roughly about one handful for every person. So if there are 8, if you take away one handful of rice from that 8 handfuls, is it going to make an enormous difference in the meal that you're having? They said, no. Meal that you have? Said, yes, we could do that. They started that. That was the Ek Muthi Chawal. Now, within a week, within 10 days, the village organization developed a pool.
In times of famines, in times of droughts, this was the rice bank that they fell upon. If the rice was not required, it was sold in the market, the money was used as the seed capital to start a lot of ventures. Rice. There are examples galore from all over India where things can change. We're talking about technology. The other thing about technology in India has been that we are all followers of the industrial model of the West. The difference between the Orient and the Occident has been, in the Orient, there has never been an attempt to create knowledge monopolies. Education has become, because if I discover something and I can use it for the welfare of society, that's my greatest gift that I can have ingrained, or was very ingrained, I'm sorry to say, in the Orient. And that is something that needs to be cultivated. What Paul was referring to about the work that Anil Gupta has been doing, he came out on an excursion of different parts of the country. They go and live in the rural areas and they find out what people are doing. There's a whole lot of knowledge and wisdom that's there in the persons I've ever met. A lot of things that I learned about life came from her. But in the modern term, she was uneducated. So what I think, if we are going to make this movement that we want sustainable, I think it's imperative that it's the young minds who come in. Because what has happened is the students, when they get involved in this kind of thinking, they come up with ideas and they, in any case, represent the future. So we need to gather into a small body, let's call it the creative minority, and think about redefining the way we have been looking at development so far. Probably developing space to develop the best in him or herself. Sometimes we end our lives without even knowing what is the best in us. Now, how do we create that environment? We create that environment there, find environment, and that primarily has to come by redefining, has got to come not from people who are already established as teachers, probably it's got to come for redefining of some of the basic assumptions on which we stand, and if required, we demolish those assumptions, come up with new paradigms, and then work together to make those paradigms as shining examples for the rest of the world to follow. I think with that I give the floor to
is now thrown open to this hall, particularly to the students, and I would urge that we begin with some student voices. So those of you who have been listening to the conversation for the last 2 days, please ask your questions, make your comments, make your suggestions. Where do you think...
And then let the students. And that is that he is talking about the Bhudan and all those things. Let me tell you that in India, we have got called National Service Scheme. It was started in 1969, and what does it mean? It simply means the service by the students in the community, which is good for their personality development also. In our own university also, we have got 4 items, as I was telling, that sports, culture, National Cadet Corps and NSS. And all the students have to opt for 2 of these. In fact, I was the program coordinator in Delhi University also, and I saw these students working in the slums, donating blood and all these activities, tree plantation and all this. I simply wanted to add this thing.
We have entered into partnership with the Indian Railways. So that is called Bharat Yatra. So Gyanodaya Yatra. So 2 batches of 2 trains have already traveled the length and breadth of the country.
We're still waiting to hear from students.
About your grandmother and about learning from your parents. And I want to tell the students, because I'm in the middle, I'm from Bulgaria, from different culture, but closer to India than to America. And I was surprised to see the huge difference in America. I want to tell you that you are blessed that you learn from your parents and from your grandparents. The education system, the cultural system in America is really broken. They don't learn nothing from their parents. They never go back to ask. If I tell my students, go and discuss with your parents or grandparents to find a solution, they'll look at me as an alien and will say that I'm crazy or something. this is your advantage, the knowledge from your grandparents, from your parents, and the connections that you make. You are blessed with this, and you can enrich your life much. And we have all this knowledge on top of what we teach you. So take advantage and come on. Ask questions and break the ice. I know the distance here is a little bit our distance between teachers and students. In North America, they call us by first name. They don't stand up when we get in the room. And I'm really impressed and touched by all this environment. Okay, so.
I just imagine that you're writing our own obituaries. What would you write in your own obituary? And you said that what is it that you'd like to do in life that that you want you to that you would for you. Now we all set life goals. We are taught to set life goals that are absolutely materialistic. 598, 100% in our exams. We are told that we should have a good get a position in a good college. We should have a good job. After we get a good job, then what? Have a good car, have a good building, have a good life partner. After that, what? So, then people around you. So, think in those terms and try and think that what is it that you would want to do in your own life. And this is related to the larger question of where would you want society to be in the next 10, 15, 20 years? Where would you want to be in the next 15 debate comes in?
Excuse me, sir, I have a question.
Can you use the mic?
Sir, how students can be involved in sustainable development?
Yeah, you tell us. We've been talking to you about how students should be involved. My point of view were the Rangoli decoration at the entrance and the cultural program on the first night. Both of them were led by students. So in my personal view, students have a lot of energy.
Yes.
And if everybody made that decision, we wouldn't have corruption. So I think students are full of ideas. You want to say something to the crowd?
No, sir, I'm telling that I was that student who
Right.
to you.
Yeah. So I think students have a lot of energy and a lot of ideas, and I feel somewhat sad that they are not given the opportunity in forums like this. The assumption here is that we know everything. That really comes from the younger generation. So we are looking to you for knowledge. And I'm very serious about this. I'm not just saying this as a rhetorical flourish. I think there are genuine ideas there, and you need to just have the confidence to stand up there and share them. What is it that you can get from? Yeah, go ahead.
Sir, I want to say something. It should be implemented so that we can involve in sustainable development.
Okay, so that's a good suggestion that the faculty at Shaheed Bhagat Singh College set up a framework, set up projects, set up opportunities of engagement and sustainable development opportunities both in the villages or with multinational corporations, and the college support it, give credit for it, make it a part of the educational program and policies. That's a great suggestion. And I guess from the students' point, ideas of bringing opportunities to faculty, but this has to be a joint project. It's not the responsibility of activity. But I think it's a great thing to begin by creating a framework that is out there. Other thoughts?
Thank you, sir.
Well, I would like to add something. I'm a student, I'm a research scholar in law faculty, Delhi University. Say that intellectual property is more about West, but now that thing has been taken care at international level also. If you people know about WIPO, World Intellectual Property Organization, it was set up in 1967, and there is one committee which has been working since 2000. And the main problem the committee is facing, the committee is working on 3 areas: traditional knowledge, traditional cultural expressions, and genetic resources. And those 3 areas are very important as far as India and Africa are concerned. And the main issue which are grappling them is how to define these things, because there are so many things which can be covered under these things. and it is really important to cover traditional cultural expressions and traditional knowledge in those things, because when you cover those things, they will get protection. And after getting protection, you can say that intellectual property also covers those traditional things. So that thing is coming up, but how it takes shape, it will take some time. But those deliberations are going on at intellectual.
So you're right, and much of the intellectual property, the legacy of intellectual property laws and concepts all emerged from a system of capitalism that was first established in the West and is biased towards private property. In India, the discussion on intellectual property is towards establishing IP commons, technology commons, practice commons, which would allow discussion going on, and I think the National Innovation Foundation is playing a role in it. I'll let Sanjeev also perhaps comment on this point.
There are two things here. One regarding what students can do. In the state of Meghalaya, we have something called this, and about 15 projects were done by a group of 110 students. And in those 15 projects, not one project, as teachers sometimes we are under the illusion that capitalism would allow, is largely a tribal area, and the amount of traditional knowledge that's there, it's enormous. Now what's happening is a lot of this knowledge is getting patented elsewhere. Texas Bacata, a plant which is used for making medicines to cure cancer, is actually indigenous to the sacred forest in Meghalaya. And it is the tree is known as Xeble, which means God's tree. Why was it called the God's tree? Did the old people know that this tree was used for?
In the session earlier, that nature can take care of itself. It will be sustainable in whatever form, but the issue that is at heart of sustainability is how we see ourselves as part of that nature and how we can establish.
The thing I wanted to know is, like, how far do you think does political stability or instability have a role in rural development sustainability? Or is it like slowly diminishing the dependence on it?
There are two parts to this answer. One is the theoretical and one is and all that they do not change with every change in the government. And these schemes actually are run by the district administration. Even if the chief minister changes, the schemes continue. So the idea is to ensure that the schemes continue with the same gusto that it's supposed to be running at. And I think
less from the metro cities. This is a great concern.
Yeah.
My question is related to this. Can I ask? Actually, I feel laws can't help much. Community has to do its bit for itself. I appreciate what Sanjeev is doing. But my question is, in a city, mad city like Delhi, where people don't have time for anything else other than accumulating more wealth and more wealth and more of it. And to tell you, Delhi government has banned polythenes. Shopkeepers don't have them, and customers are angry. You know, when they reach the shop, they are angry. कि हमें polythene चाहिए. Now, in this kind of environment where the community itself is not bothered, law cannot help. What I want to ask Sanjeev is, I really appreciate, I admire the kind of work he is doing. At a smaller level, villages, it is easier to convince people. People in cities think they are very intelligent, they need not be guided. How do you involve this kind of community for sustainable development? That is my question.
You don't look at the entire problem together. You don't look at Delhi as a big problem. If I were staying in Delhi, I would look at the small area that I'm looking at to make a difference first. Maybe in the colony where I'm staying, spread it out from that colony. And that way, we probably can't look at everything. There was a nun who taught me a principle when I was much younger. And she told me that don't look at all the problems. Think of the torchlight. The torchlight gives a beam that's just about 3 feet or 4 feet. And the radius is also very small, but it's enough to reach you home safe. If the entire way is lit up and there are too many distractions. So just focus on one thing at a time, and maybe probably in that small area, and then we can make a huge difference.
Yeah.
So, sir, I work for a government also, and I have tried that if we start from student or from our own home, this will surely affect. And I was very successful in this project. I worked for
every area our students worked for them. Then all the parents were involved, just like not using cars so much, we will go by bicycle, we won't use perfume, which is polluting air. So these sorts of things, we won't use plastic bag. So we were making how to use envelopes, only don't waste envelope, reuse of envelope. We were sticking a blank sheet on the whatever envelopes it comes. We were making cards from the card we received. So on that we had competition in all our state. It was national level, and many students from all over country were participating, and it was very successful. And we had done plantation cleanliness program in your area. So every student, every volunteer were ready to take all the groups to all the area, and it was done very successfully. So from student we can do, from our family we can do anything. And I think that when I will be alert, then my family will be alert. Being a teacher, when I will be conscious, my student will be conscious. When I take my class, the light is on, fan is on. I say, please student, after the class you put off the light and fan. And I myself do first time, then my student follows. So you have to start by yourself. Don't blame society, don't blame country. It's your responsibility as well. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much for pointing out personal responsibility in this whole conversation. And that would be less wasteful, so appreciate that. A couple of hands, one in the back and then the one in the front. So we'll take two questions, yeah.
Ourselves to protect our future. But sir said it's about profit, individuals' profit. We only think about profit. So if we think about profit, how are we going to deal with it and how are we going to secure our future? Because every individual in this country only thinks about their profit. So I just feel, okay, we are doing very much for our sustainability of our future, but still on the other side, there's nothing. It's only polluting. There are pollution. There are MNCs who are destroying our country or on the level of different stages. So I just want to say that one side we are doing very much for our sustainability, but on the other side we are doing nothing. So what do you want to say on that? Thank you.
Whereas in India, we adapt culture from abroad. So in abroad, I have seen, I've read in few papers, if there's a tree in between a road, the tree is removed and it is taken to another part. Whereas in India, when I see the Commonwealth Games, the trees were just cut down and thrown away. So I think these small things make a lot of difference. And when we take culture, we can adapt this culture also in India. When other cultures, they say that in foreign, they switch off the lights, we can adapt that culture. So it means if culture is a diversity, we should adapt that also, just not what they wear and what the other things they do, but even the positive aspect is very important over here.
Okay. Professor Vito from, I think, Portugal, he gave a very wonderful presentation where he asked us, through his research, it said that the frontal cortex of our brain has to be developed. So why not develop that part? See, we see the foreign country, the people are looking at us and admiring at our value system. But it's very sad to notice, and it's at times I feel so emotional when I see people, the youth, neglecting their advice of the elderly. And we are, in fact, we are falling in love with such things which are done not rightly abroad. So why not go back to your elderly and learn the value system? Please don't give up that value system in our Indian context. Please don't, because that is going to strengthen our frontal cortex, in fact. And we are going to be definitely sustainable. There is no need to do anything else but to change myself. That's all I would like to say.
He said that it's not just abroad that people are replanting trees. Yesterday there was a presentation on metro, in the Delhi metro, And he said that for every tree that they cut down, they planted 10 trees, which they increased to 11, and they transplanted over 30,000 trees. And what Rashmi ma'am said, that if an individual himself takes the initiative to close the lights before they go out, so students and other people eventually follow. So what my point is that it's not just that it's not happening in India, it's beginning, it's slow, but it will happen in India also. Thank you.
Means एक पुत्र 100 नहीं, एक